Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries, it's me, Bradley G, here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and here we are at Synergy Cafe, and my guest has arrived. She's in the green room, so I'm going to go back there and get her. She's back there enjoying some of our digital hors d'oeuvres, low-cal, I'm sure. So if you want to hang on a second, I'll be right back. There she is. It's Xtina, right?
Yes, sir.
Is that right? I like how you spell your name. That's pretty cool. Very unique.
Thank you.
Grab that brand. It gets me sometimes. I say, what's it? Is it Xtina? But it's kind of like Christmas, right?
Yes, and some people say Xtina, but yes, the X came from like Xmas or Christmas. Yes.
Well, it all works. So you're down there in I think San Diego. Is that the area you're still in?
Yes, I'm in San Diego County. I actually live in the mountains. I was going to do this in my office, and then I decided to come outside. So
that's the way to do it. Enjoy some of that stuff. So your thing is like, I got this graphic here that I put together. It says Heal, and it's HEA. Is that an acronym that you have for something?
Yeah, so that is actually, thank you for catching on to that. That's very few people catch on to that. That is my framework for the people that I work with that want to do kind of more of that deeper inner healing work. And so and I like to use profanity because I believe profanity and divinity collide. So my thing is heal your ish. I'll be appropriate for your platform, but but the framework heal is to honor, embrace, ascend, and love your ish or your energetic caca or your pain or whatever that, stuff that's kind of stuck inside you or preventing you from, moving forward. So if we were to imagine, like, let's say you have a dog that took, a crap in your kitchen, you would not ignore that, right? If there was some actual feces in your home, you would take care of it right away. So the first step would be to honor. You're going to acknowledge that it is there. Then you actually have to go up and embrace it. You have to touch that caca, that poo-poo, right? Hopefully you're wearing gloves or you got some, a paper towel or something, but you do have to embrace it. So that is like with, our energetic wounds, we have to acknowledge, honor that it's there, embrace it, right? And then you need to move that poop out of the home, hopefully, right? So you're going to ascend, you're going to move with it, you're going to move through it, and then you have to go back and hopefully disinfect that area, right? So you got to bring some love. And so that is kind of my framework for addressing healing our wounds in a very simple 4-step process. Is you honor, embrace, ascend, and then you go back and love that area, create new patterns, new thought processes, those types of things. Yes.
Well, I like that you use that analogy because it's very graphic and it's different. So it catches, because some people use like they're trying to heal like a trauma. So they always bring up your mother yelled at you or you got scared by a dog or something. But the dog actually taking a dump there and the idea of getting rid of it, it's kind of like the baggage thing. You got old things that you're hanging on to, old resentments or people that maybe have not respected you the way that you thought. And you carry that baggage around, but your dog thing, that definitely hits home because you do want to get that out of the kitchen kind of soon.
Very soon. And right, what happens when we ignore some feces, right, is it festers and turns into other things. And it's the same with kind of our pains, our wounds, or energetic poison. If we ignore it, right, flies come, then maggots come, maybe it starts getting trailed throughout the house. And that's kind of what happens with, a trauma, right? So if you bring up that childhood trauma, we don't address or acknowledge that it exists, it starts to transform into other things, manifest into other things. You might have procrastination. You might be snapping at people. You might be taking things personally and really not knowing where it came from.
Right. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that they may be carrying that stuff around and they don't even know it. And people are wondering, oh, what the hell are you doing? It's like, I didn't know that it was there.
Most of us don't.
Right.
It lives in the subconscious. It lives in the body, very much so.
I'm going through some of that stuff right now. I'm 67 years old and I've done a lot of healing and stuff. But, as you're going along, that stuff accumulates. You end up getting more of it. So you got to figure out how to get rid of it. Most of it was created from conception to about age 7. but that stuff is still there. And it's interesting how all this, like you popped up, and I did another thing with a guy that's got a magic mindset thing, and all these things start popping up. I'm going to Costa Rica for a ceremony down there to do a healing with some plant medicine and stuff. And as soon as I committed to that, all these little things start coming in.
Well,
And
that's what your brand stands for, right? Synergy.
Yeah, it is that synchronized energy kind of thing. But what I was going to get at is that stuff is in the unconscious that you don't even know that you've got it. And I mentioned this a lot because my wife is a coach as well, that you need someone like you to call us on the dog shit or the bullshit because we end up hiding it somewhere. And if you just sit on the couch and give yourself ideas, you give yourself bad ideas because it's the same stuff replaying. So someone like you needs to kind of scratch the record and say, what about this idea? And it changes your whole thinking pattern. And that's why I'm going to Costa Rica, is because I'm a magician by trade. So I know how to trick these neuro-linguistic programmers that are trying to get me to help myself. So I'm going to have the mother do it for me.
Absolutely. Well, and when we go somewhere else, you get to you're not carrying that energetic baggage, right?
Right.
You're going to a place where it can almost be a blank canvas, a start, a rebirth, but you also get to connect with the land, right? The ancient wisdom that's there that might not be where you are, and allow someone to guide you to your heart, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally. And again, it is important to get away from your environment and into a new, fresh environment. Otherwise, it's easy to go, oh, hang on a sec. I wanted to check my voicemail, because you got to get away from all those distractions, because that's what we end up doing. I think that we look for those little ways of not addressing the real issue, right?
Over and over. And like you said, if we just sit on our couch, the thoughts work on a program, right? So something that I tell some of my clients is like, the mind, right? The mind is gonna mind. That is what it is meant to do, right? And so it takes intention. Like you said, it takes having a guide, whether that be me, whether that be someone running your, sacred ceremony, a therapist, a psychologist, and a life coach like your wife, someone to help you see not just yourself, but to gain control and awareness of what the mind is doing. Is like, okay, my mind is minding, and I get to stop it and recreate a new way of being.
With your work, do you do like in person, or is it just online, and you do like retreats and things like that?
I do. There's 3 ways that I help people. So I do one-on-one coaching, which is primarily on the phone, online. So I have clients in like New York. You're in Minnesota. I also have physical resources. So I've authored a couple of decks of affirmations. I've noticed in this day and age, not everybody, I work with a lot of power professionals that are working, anywhere from 50 to 60 hours a week. And so, or, the normal 40 hours a week, but they're a mom with kids and soccer and all of those things. And they don't always have the time. That's kind of the thing, is like, I don't have enough time to invest in myself. I don't have time to do that. I'll do that when my kids graduate. I'll do that when they leave. Right. And so I try to create tools that are very simple to begin implementing right away. And so I started writing decks of affirmations because people didn't have time to read or listen to books the way that we used to. So I do the one-on-one coaching. I have resources like decks of affirmations, ebooks, journals, exercises, but then I also do in-person workshops, whether that be retreats that I get invited to. I just got invited to a women's retreat in August. And tomorrow I'll be presenting at a community college here for one of their programs. It's called CARE. It's a program for first-generation single parents. And so, my specialty in coaching is, right, so I'm an author. I do that deep inner healing work, whether I'm facilitating that in a workshop or with a client one-on-one. But I also do, relationship coaching, and I specialize in kind of like high conflict relationships, narcissistic abuse, custody and divorce, and single parenting. And so high conflict or narcissistic mistreatment doesn't always happen in intimate partner relationships. It can happen at work, right? It can happen in the family. It can happen in wherever you're volunteering. Maybe it's your son or daughter's PTA or their sports. Maybe it's another parent on the team. And, what I saw in a lot of the personal development and even like spiritual spaces was like, just cut all of that out. It's like, well, you can't always cut all of that out. And so there's ways in which we can take care of ourselves if we must engage with somebody who is unhealthy or toxic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned the relationship thing. I've got one of my websites. It's right here, the Synergy Lifestyle Academy. I started this a few years back, and I was looking to promote and help coaches with their things. And it's 5 different areas: career, finance, relationships, spirituality, and wellness. And all of those have relationships. They kind of interact with each other. You might have a relationship with your career, whether it be the industry you're in or your coworkers or your boss. And then relationships, you've got a relationship with your wife, but you might have your job that you bring into it, and it all interacts with each other. So that whole thing about the relationship, like you mentioned, I think sometimes you can heal a specific thing and it will affect all of those areas of your life. If you like, there was a guy, he used to be, or still is, I think, golf pro, and he would coach C-level executives on their golf game. So the guy might be slicing or hooking all the time. You can't figure out why. But before they'd even swing the club, they would sit at a table and have a conversation. And they would oftentimes find out that the reason that this is happening is because you don't have such a good relationship at home, and you got a better relationship with your secretary. Maybe you should clean that up before you work on your golf game. So there's other things that are interacting with all these things. And again, it takes someone like you, someone outside, to be able to call dog shit or call bullshit.
Call bullshit. And then I think also reminding people of who we truly are, right? Because when we come into this world, we don't come with all of that bullshit, right? It's what happens to us, right? In the first few years of our lives, for the most part, we are showered with love and celebration. And really, you can't F up, right? Like when my son, I don't know if you and your wife have children, but when he was an infant and he was learning how to sit up, or when he was learning how to crawl, or when he was learning how to walk, every time he fell down, I wouldn't be like, you dummy. It was like, you got this. You're amazing. You're awesome. Right. But then once they get into those toddler years, that's when we start to kind of punish and shame. And then the ego comes in around age 5, to 8, as you said, those first 7 years. And so then that becomes, however I'm either punishing him, shaming him, talking to him, limiting him, then that becomes he internalizes it, and it becomes his internal kind of clock, his internal talk, right? So it's about checking people on it so that they can see that, but then also reminding them of what is that divine being you were when you first came into this earth, right? And reminding them of the love that they are, and the joy and the ability to self-celebrate and honor yourself despite all of the bullshit that you did or even went through, because we've all caused harm to other people, right? Whether it was intentional or unintentional. Right. And so it's not about holding on to that and shaming ourselves or feeling guilt, but how can I forgive myself and release that so I can live as my true self again?
I think a lot of people don't realize too, like you talk about the parenting. I don't have any kids. My wife's got one from a previous marriage. But as a child, when they if say they're trying to sit up and they fall over, and if you just joke, go, oh, you dummy, that can still hurt, even if you're joking around. So people don't realize that little subtlety. And then you have to go through therapy. That I never raised my hand in school because I was afraid I'd be called a dummy. And you wonder, why is it that I have this issue? Then you're 36 years old and you got to go to Costa Rica and spend a bunch of money to fix that. So I think people need these little helps and things and all that throughout. Like, so on your website, do you have a space there where someone can like register for a little freebie or something, or like?
Oh yeah, I have all kinds of freebies. So one freebie that there's actually 2 on my website. So there's one to decrease stress. It's my top 3 ways to decrease stress and anxiety. All of the tools that I create are meant to be done within 3 minutes or less, because I'm a single parent, right? And so I don't have time. Or that was something that I told myself, is I don't have time, right? But how can I create the time? Yes. Right. How can I? And so in doing that for myself, I was able to create tools for others. Is here's how you can create more joy and freedom. Here's how we can get rid of that stress in less than 3 minutes a day. So there's a free guide that you can download. Again, I'm a busy mom, and so I don't always have time to read. And so when you download that e-guide, you have the opportunity to read it, or you can play the audio. So it's something that I like to listen to, things to uplift my spirit when I'm driving or cooking or cleaning or all of those things. So I created it that way. The other freebie is how we're all connected to one another, right? And so there's this mind phrase called "en la cache a la kin," and it means basically that we're inseparable. So if I cause harm to you, I am harming and disrespecting myself. But if I love and respect you, I am loving and respecting myself. And for me as an inner healing facilitator, if I flip that, right, on the level of thought, on the level of energy, anytime that I harm myself, that I disrespect myself, shame myself, hate on myself, that is what I am spewing out and giving to everybody that I am connected to. But if I choose to love and respect myself, even here and here, right, that is what I am giving to all that I care about or I'm energetically connected to.
Definitely. In those little subtleties, you caught yourself on some of that stuff when you say if and when.
Yes.
It makes a big difference.
It does.
Are you familiar with ask-formations?
I am not.
Okay. You know about affirmations? You go, I am a millionaire. People love me. I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
And then your little self-talk goes, no, you're not. Look at your bank account. And then you go, oh, you're right. I am a loser. But the ask-formations, you say, why am I a millionaire? And then your mind starts going, well, because I have the potential of being a millionaire. So you give yourself more of a positive thing rather than having that self-talk. Even if you keep on doing that every day, there might be that subconscious thing that's going, you're full of shit. You've been wanting to do this since you're 12. You don't even know that that's there, but it's there. And it takes someone like you. I'll put this thing back up there. That's how you get a hold of it right there.
Thank you.
Someone like you that will disrupt that thing and be able to hear that stuff. Because the whole thing about I don't have time, I call bullshit on that. We've all got 24 hours.
And time is an illusion, right? And we've all experienced sometimes when people are like, oh, that's woo-woo, Xtina, that's woo-woo. And I'm like, well, we've all experienced, 1 minute lasting forever. I mean, ask anyone who's given birth and had a contraction. But we've also experiencing a minute go super fast, right? And this is something people can also tune into when you're meditating or just enjoying a pure moment of bliss, that the minute can last much longer than it seems, but it also, in a totally different instance, can go super quickly.
I have an example. Like I was out in your area. I think it was the 405 freeway. Is that the one that goes to Vegas?
It's the 15. 15.
Yeah. Because I was driving around out there and just enjoying the scenery. All of a sudden I see a sign that says Las Vegas, 30 miles. I go, whoa, what happened? Where did the time go? So time is just, I had some communication with a guy that thought I was a woo-woo nutcase because I said time. But if there is time, there's 24 hours. We've all got 24 hours. They say time is money, but if that was the case, we'd all have the same amount. So time is just a matter of priorities. Where are you prioritizing what you're doing? You got to figure that out. Because I think if your life is a priority and you want to get rid of some of those blocks, you got to go here.
Yes. Well, you mentioned also how those affirmations, right? I am this, I am that. And then it doesn't feel genuine. It feels like you're lying to yourself, right? Like you mentioned, that old talk comes in. And so something that I tell clients, especially if they're moving through forgiveness, is like, you cannot tell yourself, I forgive someone that hurt me, if you still are holding on to the pain. And so there's much more power in creating an affirmation that says, I am open to the idea of one day possibly forgiving so-and-so. Right? Versus I forgive them, because then you will, as you said, just be lying to yourself, which means you're not believing it, versus let me just begin to semi-crack open my heart, right, to the idea of maybe one day that rings true and is much more powerful for you bringing in or becoming that forgiveness than simply lying to yourself.
Mhm.
I did pull some affirmations as you were speaking. Can I read them?
Sure, sure, sure.
And it's so funny because it's not funny at all. This is the power of synergy, the power of energy, right? So the very first one I pulled, it has to do with magic. So no surprise, that's who you are. I just was doing this as you were speaking. And then I also pulled the inseparable one, which is the one that I had just said. So I'll read them out as they came. So the first one is, I pulled 4, so I hope that's okay to read all 4. This is all I need. All that I ever need is inside me. All the tools, magic, and power is me. And then since we fuck around with cuss words on here, we also got the shit. I am the fucking shit. I understand that I am the best, and this does not make me better or worse than anyone else. I release all comparison. And then I had pulled inseparable. So again, when I cause harm to myself, I am harming all that I am connected to. If I love and respect myself, I am loving and respecting all that I am connected to.
Well,
and then the last one.
It's interesting you pulled that one because that was the Lakesh thing you talked about.
Exactly. So I'm like, you can't make this up. Like, I didn't have these prepared. I was just pulling them as you were speaking, right? And then the last one is dreams come true. And I think the magic here is, right, when you tune in to that inner power, all of the things that are inside you, and you have a guide help you get there, then you realize how incredible you are, how you are the shit. And then you realize that when I honor that within me, I can honor that in everybody else. And as we do that, our dreams come true. And so this affirmation is, fuck yes, I can manifest my dreams. I see it, I feel it, and I act upon it. So that was our collective draw for today.
Wow. I love synchronicities when they happen like that. They say there are no coincidences, but I think everything's a coincidence when you hyphenate it. It's two incidences coming together, and that, to me, that's when you're in line. There's the synergy happening there where 1 + 1 = 11.
Yes. And so these decks are also on my website. They are $26 on my website. For every deck that is purchased, a deck is donated to a family impacted by incarceration. So I grew up system impacted, meaning I had a lot of family members in and out of jail and prison. And it's a cyclical thing. It's very hard to break that pattern. And we don't need to get into politics of how that pattern is created, right? But for me, it was about learning to heal that within myself so that I didn't become that and I didn't pass that on to my son. And so my decks are also used in Side 7 male prisons here in California. And they do a 12-week self-healing program. After they complete that program, it sheds time off their sentence, but they choose a loved one to send the deck to. That way that the home that they go into is also healing, affirming, uplifting, so that they're not going back into the same environment. They're going into an environment that is moving towards change. But if you are in Minneapolis, they're also available at a cafe called Heal, Heal, and she has her own acronym for Heal as well.
Interesting, isn't it? Another coincidence. Well, I'm gonna,
like you said, no real coincidence, right? Or it all is coincidence. It's all coinciding.
That's exactly how it works, in my opinion. So I'm going to let you go into the green room, and if you want to stick around, we'll talk further.
Would love to. Thank you.
Share more. I don't know what your time schedule's like, but I'm going to let you do that. I appreciate you taking the time today and sharing with what you have there. And I liked it because it was so coincidental and magical. It's pretty cool.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Well, there you got it. Here's the website right there. It's ChristinaGeri.net, by the way, not .com, but .net. So get that right. Don't goof up. And here it is, just like that. So that's the story, Morning Glory. I appreciate you taking the time, and go ahead and like, comment, and share on this little video. We are on Facebook and LinkedIn and also YouTube. So peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice. Did I say be nice? I did. Be nice. See ya.